So my name's Lee Boot. I'm director of the Imaging Research Center here at UMBC.
Denise Johnson. I'm a cultural organizer and also direct a nonprofit called the Art Social Community Network. I do believe that the practice or informing people of the value of their story can be very empowering. And then when you use the practice in a story circle, the revealing part, I believe also, is that people will realize that some of the things that have happened to them or some of the beliefs that they have, other people have those beliefs and have those similar experiences too.
When I became a filmmaker, I was used to doing, I then got used to doing interviews. You know, documentarians tend to do interviews, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I've done some of that work with you as well. But the framing, the subtleties of how, say, an interview is framed mm-hmm. versus just saying to somebody, go, mm-hmm. you know, tell your story, and then to do that in a social context of a story circle. Those framings are all very different. You know, we have something called a non-structured interview or a semi-structured interview, whatever. It's still an interview, right? Mm-hmm. And it's got that thing, whereas when someone is given permission and a structure, which you are so good at setting up, to just tell their story, it's a different thing. You're getting to things that they didn't even know they were going to mm-hmm. say often. You're getting to things that are so much the narrative of who they are. Mm-hmm. Maybe just one dimension of that, but it's different. I'm amazed at how rich and powerful it is.
The other piece that I think is really nice is that it equals the playing field. It takes away all perceived power. Everybody becomes a human being. And once a person starts, it allows other people to you have to listen, but it allows other people to begin to share something that they want other people to know. And I think a big piece of using that practice is the facilitator being ready to handle the possible emotions that could come from what people are going to expose.
And the thing is that the circles that, at least that I've been in with you, people can share that, but they also might just have something they want to tell, mm-hmm. right? That they really think needs to be said. So there's advocating, yeah. There's just expressing a real point of view, and then there's the full range of the personal, mm-hmm. you know. But when there's no bracket forcing it into even if it isn't a subject, you know, we have had themes to a degree to story circles that mm-hmm. That at least I've been in with you. The range is amazing of people who need to tell, need to shout, mm-hmm. need to really reflect on how something hits them. It's an amazing thing.
I know that in there's one story circle methodology that was developed. I love this story. That's why I wanted to just talk about it. So in the South, during the 60s, groups were being activated, and they were activists around civil rights. And so you also, with the race piece, you had groups not communicating with one another. So Appleshot, which is a 50-year-old organization in Dudley Cock, and Junebug Production, one of their long-term activists who has passed recently, the two of them got together and created a story circle methodology. And one of the beautiful things about that methodology is that in the circle, as people are talking and listening to one another, you end up with a whole new story. And the new story is based on what others have shared. They intentionally worked on that for a long period of time because they needed to find a way to communicate with one another, as opposed to hating on one another, being dismissive of one another because of race relations. And so what that methodology that they developed, they found the story in the middle that allowed them to communicate. And I think that's another piece of the strength of the story circle that can be built on in terms of, if using this practice and you're trying to get people to communicate, or you're trying to create a new narrative, or you're trying to organize people, or whatever you're trying to do, listen intently and redoing the circle, finding that story in the middle, and that way people have something else to communicate to one another about. It's almost like a new narrative. So that's another powerful piece of using a story circle methodology.
The story in the middle.
The story in the middle that's going to get created. Another story is going to get created, but you have to listen for it.
But this idea of the story in the middle, in other words, if you come together with your agenda and I bring my agenda, we might together come up with something that addresses our challenges.
Right.
Without and yet was something
without
that
staying on different sides.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it may be something that neither of us ever thought of in our entire lives. Or how about the magic of that?
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like we've really ruled that. I mean, can you imagine picking up the newspaper one day and say, yeah, you know, legislature got together and they went, geez, that was a great idea. I wish I'd thought of that. And you know, can you imagine if there was a story circle? I think we just figured out what we need to do.
Hope for that. That's my hope. I hope for that.
Let's get those folks down in a big story circle, shall we?
Yeah.
We did a story circle that you were in at Lion Brothers building, which was in many ways about many story circles that had happened, right, to kind of take a snapshot of the Art of Transformation project. And one of the things that I heard in that story circle that really got me going, wow, was, I can't even remember who said it, I have to go back and look at the footage, but what came out was the idea that the university is not sharing who it is. Yeah, wait, okay, so we're gonna go in and listen, but not, that's the person in the story circle who takes a pass. You know, and what does that mean? So I think that for universities and communities to work together, it may seem like a non sequitur, like it doesn't relate, you know, for a university student, professor, researcher to kind of share their story that may seem, again, unrelated. But I think it's not about that. It's about understanding each other. It's about knowledge sharing. It's about hearing one another and so on. And
real foundational stuff, don't you?
Yes, like the foundational stuff, you know.
I just have to throw this. One of the cool things I like about community is that folks will have a tendency to check you, because in community, people, you know, they deal human to human all the time. And so checking, meaning that it's like, okay, who do you think you are, you know, so on and so forth. That is like a swag about community that speaks to how much they respect their own selves. Not necessarily being concerned about how outsiders respect them. And to me, that's a level of power that community brings also, that it just makes me smile. Yeah, it makes me smile.
I've seen you smile that way on many occasions.
Yeah.